Vanessa did not walk into places. She arrived. Every step she took announced money, confidence, and disrespect. Her heels hit the marble floor of the restaurant like a warning. "I am here." Heads turned immediately, not because she was the most beautiful woman in the room, but because her presence carried something heavy, something intimidating: money. Vanessa was young, rich, and dangerously proud, and she knew it. Her black designer dress hugged her body perfectly. Gold jewelry rested on her skin like it belonged there. Her phone worth, more than some people's yearly salary, sat loosely in her hand, as if it was nothing. To Vanessa, it was nothing. The waiter approached her table with a polite smile. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Welcome." She looked at him slowly, from his worn shoes to his cheap uniform, then back to his face. Her lips curved into a small, mocking smile. "Are you blind?" she said coldly. "Do I look like someone that needs your welcome?" The smile disappeared from the waiter's face. I'm sorry, ma'am." She waved him away like he was an insect. "Just do your job and don't waste my time." People around pretended not to listen, but they heard everything. Some shook their heads quietly. Others whispered. Vanessa didn't care. Why should she? She had grown up watching people beg. Beg for money. Beg for opportunities. Beg for favors. From a young age, Vanessa learned one thing clearly. Money controls people. And when she finally had money of her own, she decided she would never be the one begging. Never. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Vanessa, I really like you. Can we talk seriously?" She laughed loudly. "Men," she muttered. "Always dreaming." She typed back without emotion. "Don't flatter yourself. I don't date broke men." She blocked his number immediately. To Vanessa, men were accessories useful when needed, disposable when boring. She had no patience for emotions, love, or respect. Anyone who came close to her was either using her money or wasting her time, and she hated both. The waiter returned carefully with her drink. She tasted it and frowned. "What is this nonsense?" she snapped. "Is this how you people serve rich customers?" "I followed the order exactly, ma'am," the waiter said quietly. She repeated, her eyes narrowing. "Listen, if I wanted cheap service, I would have stayed at home." "Do it again, and do it properly this time." The waiter apologized again and walked away. Humiliated, Vanessa leaned back in her chair, satisfied. This was her world, and in her world, no one talked back. Later that evening, Vanessa sat in the back seat of her luxury car, scrolling through social media. Photos of her flooded the internet: parties, vacations, expensive gifts. People admired her lifestyle, but none of them truly knew her. They didn't know that Vanessa enjoyed power more than pleasure. They didn't know she liked watching people feel small. Her driver slowed down as traffic built up. "What is the problem?" she snapped. "Traffic, ma'am. We'll move soon." She rolled her eyes. "Do you know who I am?" she barked. "Call whoever you need to call. I don't sit in traffic like common people." "Yes, ma'am." The driver's hands shook slightly as he made calls. Vanessa looked out the window and saw street vendors hustling, sweating, running after cars to sell cheap items. Her lips curled in disgust. "Imagine living like that," she said to herself. Poor and struggling. She didn't see humans. She saw levels, and she believed she was far above everyone else. That night at her penthouse, Vanessa stood in front of the mirror, removing her makeup slowly. She admired herself the way one admires a trophy. "I worked too hard to be controlled," she said aloud. "Nobody owns me. Nobody tells me what to do." Her phone buzzed again. An unknown number. "Money doesn't make you untouchable, Vanessa." Her smile faded. She stared at the message for a long moment, then scoffed. "Another foolish person," she said. Deleting it immediately, she poured herself a drink and walked toward the window, overlooking the city lights. "This world bows to money," she said confidently. "And I have more than enough. But for the first time in a long while, the silence in her apartment felt heavy, uncomfortable. Still, Vanessa pushed the feeling away. She always did. She climbed into her expensive bed believing the same thing she had believed all her life. No one could control her, no one could touch her, and no one would ever bring her down. She was wrong. Morning came quietly, but Vanessa woke up irritated. She hated mornings. They reminded her that time moved even for her. She lay in her king-size bed scrolling through her phone, ignoring missed calls and unread messages. Her assistant had sent reminders about meetings, charity events and business appointments. Charity, Vanessa scoffed. She only attended those events for publicity. Poor people bored her. Their stories sounded the same: struggle, hunger, tears. She didn't believe in helping people who couldn't help themselves. Still, her brand image required it. By noon, Vanessa stepped into a high-end fashion store, sunglasses on, chin raised. The salesgirls straightened immediately when they saw her. They knew her reputation. Rich, difficult, dangerous. One of them approached carefully. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Welcome." Vanessa removed her glasses slowly. "I was here last week," she said coldly, "and I'm not impressed with your collection." The girl forced a smile. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Maybe you'd like to see our new arrivals. Maybe you'd like to stop talking," Vanessa replied. The store went silent. Another salesgirl rushed over. "Please, ma'am, this way. We'll show you our best pieces." Vanessa followed, enjoying the tension she created. She pointed at dresses without looking properly. Ugly. Cheap. "I wouldn't wear that even if it was free." Finally, she stopped in front of a simple, elegant dress. "This one," she said. "Wrap it up." The salesgirl hesitated slightly. "Ma'am, that dress is reserved." Vanessa's head snapped toward her. "Reserved for who?" she asked slowly. "For another client who paid a deposit earlier today." Vanessa laughed a sharp, dangerous sound. "Listen," she said, leaning closer. "Whatever she paid, I'll pay 10 times more. Cancel her reservation." I'm not sure I'm allowed to." Vanessa dropped her card on the counter. "Then learn quickly." The manager appeared almost immediately, apologizing profusely. "Of course, ma'am. We'll handle it." Vanessa smirked. As she walked out with the dress, she didn't see the young woman standing outside the store, eyes red from crying. That dress had been meant for a job interview, for a chance at a better life. Vanessa didn't care. That evening, she attended a business networking event. Wealthy men, loud laughter, expensive drinks. Vanessa stood out, as always. Men approached her one after another. "Vanessa, I've admired you for a long time." She cut him off. "Admiration doesn't pay my bills." Another tried. "I think you're different from other women." She smiled cruelly. "All women are different. You're just too poor to notice." The men laughed awkwardly, embarrassed but still trying. They always tried. Then someone didn't. He stood near the bar, calm, unbothered. No rush to impress her. No nervous smiles. He simply watched. Vanessa noticed. She hated being observed instead of chased. She walked up to him confidently. "So," she said, "aren't you going to introduce yourself?" He looked at her slowly, then sipped his drink. "Why?" he asked. "You already think you're better than everyone here." The room seemed to shrink. Vanessa blinked, surprised. "What did you say?" she demanded. "I said," he repeated calmly. "Money made you loud, not important." Gasps rippled nearby. Vanessa's face hardened. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. He nodded slightly. "Yes. A woman who thinks money replaces character." Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with anger. "You should apologize," she said sharply. He smiled faintly. "I don't apologize to bullies." People stared openly now. Vanessa turned away, furious. She hated him instantly, not because he was rude, but because he wasn't afraid, and fear was what she relied on. Later that night, alone again in her penthouse, Vanessa threw her heels across the room. How dare he? She hissed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You humiliate people for fun. One day, you'll meet someone who won't bow. Her breath caught. Another message followed immediately. That day is closer than you think. Her fingers trembled slightly before she steadied them. This is nonsense, she said aloud. But when she walked to her window, she felt it again, that uncomfortable silence. The sense that her money couldn't buy her peace anymore. Vanessa had spent her whole life believing she was untouchable. But now, someone had spoken to her without fear. Someone had watched her without admiration. And someone out there knew her too well. For the first time, Vanessa wondered, what happens when money stops working? Vanessa didn't sleep that night. She lay awake in her silk bedsheets, staring at the ceiling, replaying the man's words over and over again. Money made you loud, not important. She clenched her fists. No one talks to me like that, she whispered angrily. No one. By morning, her pride had turned into rage. Vanessa dressed sharply red dress, bold makeup, heels high enough to announce war. She didn't want comfort. She wanted dominance. Today, she would remind the world who she was. At the office, her staff sensed the storm immediately. Good morning, ma'am, her assistant said softly. Vanessa dropped her bag on the desk. Cancel all my afternoon meetings, she snapped. I'm not in the mood to pretend today. Yes, ma'am. A junior staff member accidentally brushed past her, spilling coffee on the floor. I'm so sorry, the girl cried, panic in her eyes. Vanessa looked down at the mess, then at the girl. Sorry, she repeated. Do you think sorry cleans floors? The girl's eyes filled with tears. I'll clean it right away. You should clean yourself first, Vanessa said cruelly. You look like poverty. The office went silent. Someone tried to intervene. Ma'am. Please, Vanessa turned sharply. Do you want to join her? She asked coldly. No one spoke again. That day, Vanessa fired 3 people not because they deserved it, but because she needed to feel powerful. Each dismissal fed her ego. Yet strangely, the satisfaction didn't last. Something was wrong. That afternoon, Vanessa received a call from her bank. Good day, Miss Vanessa. We noticed some unusual activity on your account. Handle it, she interrupted. That's what I pay you for. There was a pause. Ma'am. A large sum was moved temporarily due to an ongoing review. Her heart skipped. What review? She demanded. We'll update you shortly. The call ended. Vanessa stared at her phone. This had never happened before. She called back immediately. No answer. She laughed nervously. Relax, she told herself. You're Vanessa. Money always listens. But for the first time, it didn't. That evening, she attended another high-profile event determined to prove nothing had changed. Cameras flashed as she arrived, but her smile felt heavy. Then she saw him again. The man from the last event, standing calmly, watching. Her stomach tightened. She marched toward him. You, she said sharply. You think you're smart, don't you? He looked at her unreadable. I think you're scared, he replied quietly. The words hit her harder than a slap. Scared of what? She laughed loudly. Look around. This world runs on money, and I control it. He leaned closer. No, he said calmly. You rent it, and your lease is expiring. Her smile froze. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A notification. Account restricted. The room spun. She turned away quickly, heart pounding. This wasn't possible. Vanessa rushed to the restroom, locking herself inside a stall. Her hands shook as she called her assistant. What is going on? She demanded. There's an investigation, ma'am, the assistant said nervously. Some past transactions. Someone reported. Reported what? Vanessa shouted. I don't know yet. Vanessa slid down against the stall wall, breathing hard. No, this couldn't be happening. She had built her empire on control. fear, and silence. Now someone had spoken. Someone had reported. Someone had challenged her throne. And she didn't know who. That night, her penthouse felt colder than usual. Vanessa poured herself a drink but couldn't swallow. Her reflection in the glass looked different, less confident, more human. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You step on people, eventually. One of them looks up. Her throat tightened. Another message followed. This is only the beginning. Vanessa dropped the phone. For the first time in her life, she cried, not loudly, not dramatically but quietly, the kind of cry that comes from losing something you thought was permanent. Her power, her control, her illusion. Vanessa had always believed money made her untouchable, but now she understood something terrifying. Money could protect her from poverty, but not from consequences. The knock on Vanessa's door came at 6 a.m., not the polite kind. The kind that meant trouble. Vanessa sat up in bed, her heart racing. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but her pride was still alive, wounded, angry, and refusing to die quietly. She wrapped a silk robe around herself and walked to the door. Who is it? She snapped. Open up, Miss Vanessa. A firm voice replied. We need to talk. Her chest tightened. She opened the door. 2 officials stood outside. Calm, serious, unimpressed by her wealth or beauty. We're here regarding an investigation into your financial activities. The words echoed. Vanessa laughed weakly. This must be a mistake. We can assure you, one of them said. It's not. They handed her documents, names, dates, signatures, proof. Transactions she had buried long ago. Deals made by silencing people. Payments meant to erase problems. Her knees weakened. Who did this? She whispered. One of them looked at her steadily. Someone you stepped on. Hours later, Vanessa sat alone on her couch, surrounded by silence and fear. Her phone buzzed again this time. A familiar name appeared, Maya. Vanessa's breath caught. Maya. A name from the past she had tried to forget. Against her better judgment, Vanessa answered. You took everything from me, Maya's voice said, calm but heavy with pain. My job, my reputation, my dignity. Vanessa swallowed. That was years ago, she said defensively. You should have moved on. Maya laughed softly. I tried, she replied, but trauma doesn't forget. The memories came rushing back. Maya had once worked under Vanessa. Smart, honest, refused to cover up a dirty deal Vanessa had destroyed. Her with one phone call framed her, blacklisted her, paid her into silence. Or so she thought. You thought money ended the story, Maya continued. It only paused it. Vanessa's voice cracked. What do you want? I want you to feel what it's like to be powerless. The call ended. That afternoon, Vanessa stepped outside without makeup, without heels, without armor. The city looked the same, but she felt smaller in it. For the first time, she noticed people. The cleaner sweeping the street, the vendor arranging oranges, the security man standing all day under the sun. People she had once looked down on. Now, she was one of the vulnerable ones. Her assistant called. Ma'am, your accounts are frozen. Some partners are pulling out. Vanessa closed her eyes. How long? She whispered. I don't know. She ended the call that night. Vanessa stood in front of the same mirror she once admired herself in. I did this, she said quietly. No audience, no applause, just truth. Her phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. Power without humility always collapses. Vanessa sank to the floor, tears streaming freely now, not because she lost money, but because she finally understood. She had been rich, but empty, feared, but unloved, powerful, but alone. And now, stripped of everything she thought defined her, she faced the hardest question of her life. Would she change? Or would pride destroy her completely? Vanessa woke up to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that reminded her of everything she had lost. The penthouse was gone. The luxury car was gone. Even the echo of power that once followed her footsteps had disappeared. She now lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. No security, no assistant, no respect bought with money. Just Vanessa. She sat on the edge of her bed and stared at her hands. Once, those hands signed contracts without reading them. Once, they waved people away like trash. Now, they trembled slightly, not from fear, but from understanding. She stood up, tied her hair simply, and wore a plain dress. No makeup, no jewelry. She had a place to go. The community center smelled of old books and fresh paint. Children's laughter filled the air. Vanessa hesitated at the door, her heart pounding. She had never volunteered before. The coordinator looked up. "Can I help you?" Vanessa swallowed. "My name is Vanessa," she said quietly. "I'm here to help if you'll have me." The woman studied her face, then nodded. "We need all the help we can get." Vanessa spent the day cleaning, organizing supplies, and assisting children with homework. No one bowed. No one flattered her. Some didn't even notice her. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel insulted. She felt free. Later that week, Vanessa requested to meet Maya. They sat across from each other in a small cafe. No lawyers, no threats, just two women and the past between them. "I won't defend myself," Vanessa said, her voice steady but soft. "What I did was wrong. I used money to ruin you because I was afraid of losing control." Maya watched her carefully. "Why are you saying this now?" she asked. Vanessa lowered her gaze. "Because I finally understand what it means to be powerless. And I'm sorry." The word hung in the air. "Sorry," Maya exhaled slowly. "I didn't destroy you because I hated you," she said. "I did it so you'd stop hurting people." Vanessa nodded. "I know." They didn't become friends that day, but something heavier than anger was lifted. Months passed. Vanessa worked quietly. She helped small business owners understand finance honestly. She spoke to young women not about money, but about character. Sometimes people recognized her. "You're that rich woman, right?" She would smile gently. "I used to be." One evening, Vanessa stood by a window, not a penthouse window, just a normal one, watching the city lights. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You changed." She didn't reply. She didn't need to. Vanessa had learned the hardest lesson of her life. Money can give you power, but humility gives you peace. And this time, she chose peace. Vanessa never expected the call. She was at the community center that afternoon, helping a young girl solve a maths problem. The girl smiled proudly when she finally got the answer right. "Thank you, Auntie Vanessa," she said. Vanessa smiled back, her heart warm. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She checked it casually, then froze. Unknown corporate number. She almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello?" she said calmly. There was a pause on the other end. "Good afternoon, Ms. Vanessa. This is Sheena Global Holdings." Her breath caught. Sheena Global, the same company she once ruled with fear. The same company that cut all ties with her when her scandals broke. "Yes," Vanessa replied carefully. "I'm listening." The voice continued. "We've been observing you." Vanessa frowned slightly. "Observing me?" "Yes," the man said. "Your work, your attitude, the way you handled your downfall, the way you didn't fight back with money or threats." Vanessa leaned against the wall, stunned. "The board has been discussing something," he added, "and we'd like to invite you for a meeting." There was a silence. "For what purpose?" Vanessa asked quietly. "To bring you back," he said, "but not as the woman you used to be." Her heart pounded. The meeting room felt familiar, yet completely different. Vanessa walked in wearing a simple suit. No arrogance, no sharp tongue, just calm confidence. The board members watched her closely. "You've changed," one of them said bluntly. "Not fear," one young employee whispered to another. "Is this the same Vanessa?" "Yes," the other replied softly. But she's not the same woman. Vanessa overheard them. She smiled one evening. Vanessa stood in her office, simple, clean, honest. She looked out at the city she once thought she owned. Her phone buzzed. Message from Maya. You didn't just change your life, you changed others. Vanessa typed back. I'm still learning. She placed the phone down and whispered to herself. I lost everything to learn who I truly was. And this time, when power returned, it found a woman who finally deserved it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share so you don't miss our next stories.